We also have memberships now. Everyone is welcome to join. These memberships do help the channel. And on top of that, I will have members only content, members only chats, and eventually members only members will have stickers and other things. So if you would like to join memberships, it is very, very much appreciated. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share the video. Okay, I want to remind you guys of my website. This website here shows all of the Facebook groups that we have. And these are all the seismological links so that you can find different links to different seismic agencies and be able to keep up with what is going on in the world. Also, I want to remind you guys that I am now, um, this site here also has first aid. So you can go on here and learn different things to do with first aid. Um, Helps you out with everything you need to know about CPR as well as bandaging and much more. Now for our volcano news. When we are looking at the news 2 days ago, Indonesia's Ibu volcano erupted again, and this was the second time it spewed red hot lava. And this was on June 6th, and it fired bright red lava and rocks into the night sky and triggered a spectacular display of volcanic lightning. The 1,325-meter or 4,357-foot volcano on the eastern island of Halmahera erupted twice on Thursday. The first eruption was at 1:30 a.m. local time, spewing incandescent lava and rocks as lightning flashes were lighting up the crater. The second eruption was at 7:46 a.m. local time for 2 minutes, shooting volcanic ash as high as 1,200 meters or 4,000 feet. Clouds of gray ash billowed into the sky from the crater. The alert status of the volcano is still level 4, or the highest level there is. The agency banned activities within 7 kilometers of the crater. Thursday's volcanic activity was the latest in a series of eruptions since May. Ibu volcano also erupted on Tuesday, spewing 5 kilometers or 3 miles columns of gray ash into the sky. Authorities have evacuated 7 villages nearby since May 16th, but no new evacuation planned on the latest eruption. Indonesia sits on the geologically active Pacific Ring of Fire and has 127 active volcanoes. Boy, that's a lot of volcanoes. Last month, the eruption of Ruang volcano in North Sulawesi province forced the evacuation of more than 12,000 people. At least 60 people were killed last month during the flash floods and cold lava flows from Mount Merapi, one of the most active volcanoes in West Sumatra province. As we might have suggested, there was another volcano which is now at alert level 2, and that is Canalan volcano. This is in Manila, Philippines. And it is too early to lower Canalan volcano's alert level. And the Philobox said 14 volcanic earthquakes were logged from midnight June 6th to midnight June 7th. The recent data is lower than 27 and 53 volcanic earthquakes detected from June 5th to 6th and June 4th to 5th. 4 days palang since Canalan volcano erupted. So they have to check this every day and then observe this for longer periods, at least 2 weeks, and that's according to Bakal. So it's only been 4 days since Canelon erupted, so they have to check every day and observe it for a more extended period, or at least 2 weeks. Just so y'all know, archaeologists have discovered records of Pompeii survivors, proving famous eruption didn't kill everyone. And this was written by someone at Miami University, so I'm going to try to read it. It says on August 24th in AD 79, Mount Vesuvius erupted, shooting over 3 cubic miles of debris up to 20 miles in the air. As the ash and rock fell to earth, it buried ancient cities like Pompeii and Herculaneum. According to the most modern accounts, the story pretty much ends there. Both cities were wiped out, their people frozen in time. It only picks up with the rediscovery of the cities and the evacuations that started in earnest in the 1740s. But recent research has shifted to the narrative. The story of the eruption of Mount Vesuvius is no longer one about annihilation. It also includes the stories of those who survived the eruption and went on to rebuild their lives. The search for survivors and their stories has dominated the past decade of archaeological fieldwork. And as I've tried to figure out who might have escaped the eruption, some of my findings are featured in the episode of the new PBS documentary, Pompeii, the New Dig. Pompeii and Herculaneum were two wealthy cities on the coast of Italy just south of Naples. Pompeii was a community of about 30,000 people that hosted thriving industry and active political and financial networks. Herculaneum was a population of about 5,000, had an active fishing fleet, and a number of marble workshops. Both economies supported the villas of wealthy Romans in the surrounding countryside. In popular culture, the eruption is usually depicted as an apocalyptic event with no survivors. But the evidence that people could have escaped was always there. The eruption itself continued for over 18 hours. The human remains found in each city account for only a fraction of their populations, and many objects you might have expected to remain and be preserved in ash are missing. Carts and horses are gone from stables, ships missing from docks, and strong boxes cleaned out of money and jewelry. All this suggests that many, if not most, of the people in those cities could have escaped if they fled early enough. Some archaeologists have always assumed that some people escaped, but searching for them has never been a priority. So this person created a methodology to determine if survivors could be found. And this is the writer of the article here. I took Roman names unique to Pompeii or Herculaneum, such as Numerius Papadius and Ulus Umbricius, and searched for people with those names who lived in surrounding communities in the period after the eruption. I also looked for additional evidence, such as improved infrastructure in neighboring communities to accommodate migrants. After 8 years of scouring databases of tens of thousands of Roman inscriptions on places ranging from walls to tombstones, I found evidence of over 200 survivors in 12 cities. Those municipalities are primarily in the general area of Pompeii, but they tended to be north of Mount Vesuvius outside the zone of the greatest destruction. It seems as though most survivors stayed as close as they could to Pompeii. They preferred to settle with other survivors, and they relied on social and economic networks from their original cities as they resettled. Some migrants prosper. Some of the families that escaped apparently went on to thrive in their new communities. The Caltilus family resettled in Ostia, what was then a major port city of the north of Pompeii, 18 miles from Rome. There they founded a temple to the Egyptian deity Serapis, Serapis, who wore a basket of grain on his head to symbolize the bounty of the earth, was popular in harbor cities like Ostoa, dominated by a grain trade. Those cities are built on grand, expensive tomb complex decorated with inscriptions and large portraits of family members. Members of the Calitius family married into another family of escapees, the Munontises. Together they created a wealthy, successful, extended family. The second busiest port city of Roman Italy, Puteoli, Puteoli, what's known as Pozzuoli today, also welcomed survivors of Pompeii. The family of Ulus Umbricus, who was a merchant of garum, a popular fermented fish sauce, resettled there. After reviving the family's garum business, Ulus and his wife named their firstborn children after their adopted city, the Putulian. So his name was Putulanus. Others fell on hard times. Not all survivors of the eruption were wealthy or went on to find success in their new communities. Some had already been poor to begin with. Others seemed to have lost their family fortunes, perhaps in the eruption itself. Fabia Secundina from Pompeii, apparently named after her grandfather, a wealthy wine merchant, also ended up in Putulo. There she married a gladiator, Aquarius, the Rhetarius, who died at the age of 25, leaving her in dire financial straits. Three other very poor families of Pompeii, Viani, Attili, and Missouri families, settled and resettled in a small poor community called Nuceria, which goes by Nocera today and is about 10 miles or 16.1 kilometers east of Pompeii. According to the tombstones that still exist, the Missouri family took in a boy named Avenius or Felicio as a foster son, notably in 160 years of Roman Pompeii. There was no evidence of any foster children, and extended families usually took in orphan children. For this reason, it is likely that Felicio didn't have any surviving family members. This small example illustrates a larger pattern of generosity of migrants, even impoverished ones, towards other survivors in their new communities. They didn't just take care of each other, they also donated to the religious and civic institutions of their new homes. So, how would survivors be treated today? While survivors resettled and built lives in their new communities, government played a role there as well. The Empress of Rome invested heavily in the region, rebuilding properties damaged by the eruption and building new infrastructure for displaced populations, including roads, water systems, amphitheaters, and temples. This model for post-disaster recovery could be a lesson for today. The cost of funding the recovery never seems to have been debated. Survivors were not isolated into camps, nor were they forced to live indefinitely in tent cities. There's no evidence that they encountered discrimination in their new communities. Instead, all signs indicate that the communities welcomed the other survivors. Many of them went on to open their own businesses and hold positions in local government. The new government responded by ensuring that the new populations and their communities had the resources and infrastructure to rebuild their lives. So, anyways, this was written by Stephen L. Tuck, and he's a professor of classics with Miami University. I found this to be very interesting, and history has always been a big thing in my life. So, big shout out to Stephen L. Tuck for his research. So, as far as Kilauea goes, this is 4 hours ago from West Hawaii today, and they stayed in Kilauea, began erupting from fissures southwest of Kulapele, the summit caldera, just after midnight on June 3rd. The eruption ceased just 9 hours later, though lava flows continued to slowly spread for several more hours. Prior to the brief eruption, the USGS Hawaii Volcano Observatory had been monitoring pulses of heightened seismic activity in the summit area for weeks. They're stating that the earthquakes give them insight into the features of the molten magma below and the eruption that was to come. Earthquakes result from the breaking of cooler brittle rock. As that magma moves into the area, it forces the surrounding rock to bend and then break. This brittle rock failure is what seismologists at the HVO see daily on live data streams as earthquakes. The location of earthquakes can outline magma chambers, indicate fault movement, or show where magma is moving into a new area. At Kilauea, earthquake swarms paired with changes in ground motion as seen on tiltmeters gives HVO scientists an idea of the pressurization of magma chambers beneath the surface. The proposed magma plumbing system at Kilauea is divided into three chambers: the Halemaimai Reservoir and the New Caldera Reservoir and Kinakalui Reservoir. In the weeks leading up to Monday's eruption, there were three distinct periods of heightened unrest, from April 27th to May 3rd, May 6th to 9th, and May 17th to 18th. Two distinct clusters of earthquakes occurred on the South Caldera and the Upper East Rift Zone. During these swarms, earthquakes located often switch between the South Caldera cluster and the Upper East Rift Zone cluster as magma pressure levels fluctuated within the different storage regions. The event counts at the South Caldera cluster increased while the counts at the Upper East Rift cluster diminished as the system moved closer to eruption. Rates of ground tilt measured by summit tiltmeters would also increase during the earthquake swarms, indicating an increased pulse of magma was accumulating near the surface. Although the earthquakes occurred in distinct clusters, they could have happened in response to the stresses created by magma chambers located nearby. For this reason, there were several scenarios. First, magma accumulation could stop and no eruption would occur. Magma accumulation could continue with an eruption at Kulapele, or magma could migrate to the southwest with either an intrusion, similar to the last January, or eruption. So anyways, for the last 12 hours, earthquakes of 4.1 shook the summit region until 12:30 a.m. Monday morning, when the fissure opened about 1 mile southwest of the caldera. The eruption happened in the vicinity of the ground cracks that formed in late January's intrusion. So Kilauea is not erupting at this time, and its USGS volcano alert level is advisory. So we shall be keeping an eye on this. 9 earthquakes were reported in the Hawaii Islands during the past week, just so you know. Okay, so Maryland leaders are considering better protections for the Bay Bridge. This is after the Baltimore collapse. And they're talking about the Bay Bridge to the eastern shore and to the beaches in Delaware and Maryland. They're stating that following the collapse of the Key Bridge in Baltimore, that people are thinking about how comfortable and how safe they feel on the Bay Bridge. Now let's look up the Bay Bridge, okay? So let me get my Google Earth up here real quick. The Bay Bridge, I believe, Virginia. And I believe they're talking about the Chesapeake Bay Bridge here, because it says that just the sight of the Bay Bridge across the Chesapeake is enough to make some drivers grip the wheel a little tighter. So, if we're talking about a bridge, this is the Chesapeake Bay Bridge here. I have been across that bridge, and it's scary. Okay, so I don't know if they have any views from this bridge, but let's see if they do. All right, so let's go here. Then you can see how skinny this bridge is. 4 miles of driving across this bridge. It is white knuckle territory. I have driven across it. I used to live on the eastern shores of Virginia when I was really little, but I have been across it as an adult. And these little, poles here don't make you feel much safer driving across the bridge itself. So anyway, they're citing that just the sight of the Bay Bridge across the Chesapeake is enough to make some drivers grip the wheel a little tighter. A lot of people have a hard time driving across a 4 mile long bridge. Nonetheless, before the collapse of the Key Bridge, most of us wouldn't have flinched at the sight of the massive ship going right under the bridge. But in the early morning of March 26th, the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore was struck by a cargo ship and collapsed into the water below, killing 6 workers. In an instant, everything changed, and now safety is top of mind. There has been confirmation that Maryland transportation leaders will be taking a look at better safety protections for this Bay Bridge. The National Transportation Safety Board is saying that they are finding urgent safety recommendations that need to be made following the Key Bridge collapse. It will do so immediately. If and when the NTSB makes those recommendations, McAndrews says state officials will begin listening closely. There's been a lot of talk about so-called dolphins, protective barriers that could redirect a ship from hitting the support piers of the bridge. And in other parts of the county, those protections are becoming much more common. And that's with newer bridges. In contrast, the Bay Bridge is now more than 70 years old. It has fenders to protect piers, but no dolphins. At Sandy Point State Park, next to the Bay Bridge, Louis Ostero and Savannah Willis are reminded of the Key Bridge collapse. They stated they are terrified of bridges, so honestly it makes them not want to go under or on bridges anymore. A fisherman named Zeno says he hopes the state keeps the bridges in good shape. Okay, you guys, thank you for stopping by, for watching my Saturday update. I hope y'all are having a great day. Me, I am working on trying to still figure out how to get my car's oil leak fixed. If anybody would like to help, I will have a PayPal link below the video. I am trying to get up to $400 so that I can pay the guy, the mechanic, and get the parts that's needed to fix the leak. If you would like to help, it would be very, very much appreciated. Also, please remember that I have memberships on the channel now. Please remember that there is also a website where you can get links to seismicity and to the Facebook groups. Those are important. Also, please remember to like, subscribe, share the video, and I hope to be doing more videos like this in the future. Anyways, I hope y'all have a great day. Much love.